Jasoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana Jasoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana Jasoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Start reading Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 17th chapter, text 41. Punishment and reward of Kali. 42. Rishaya Nastams Trin Padan Tapa Socham Dayam Iti Pratisantaya Ashvasya Mahim Cha Samarvidayat Rishaya Nastam Strinpadan Tapasocham Dayamiti Pratisantaya Ashvasya Mahim Cha Samapatayat Rishaya Nastam Strinpadan Tapasocham Dayamiti Pratisantaya Ashvasya Mahim Cha Samavadahayat Rishaya Nastam Strinpadan Tapasocham Dayamiti Pratisantaya Ashvasya Mahim cha samavipatayat Shastastam strin padan
Dayamiti
Tapasacham dayamiti
Pratisan Dadha Ashvasya
Pratisandhadya Ashvasya
Mahincha Samabadhaya
Mahim cha samavardayat
Rishasya nashtang strinpadan
Rishasya nastam stritpadan
Tapashochang dayamiti
Tapasacham dayamiti
Pratisandata ashvasya
Pratisandhadya Ashvasya
Mahing cha samavardayat
Mahim cha samavardayat
Rishasya nashtam strinpadam
Rishasya nastam stritpadan
tapashocham dayamiti
Tapasacham dayamiti
pratisandadha ashvasya
Pratisandhadya Ashvasya
mahim cha samavardhayat.
Mahim cha samavardayat
Rishaya nashtam strinpadan
Vishaya nastam stritpadan
tapa shocham dayamiti
Tapasacham dayamiti
ti sandadha ashvasya
Pratisandhadya Ashvasya
mahim cha samavardayat
Mahim cha samavardayat
Vrishasya nashtam strinpadan
Vishasya nastam stritpadan
Tapa shocham dayamiti
Tapasacham dayamiti
Pratisandadha ashvasya
Pratisandhadya Ashvasya
Mahim cha samavardhayat
Mahim cha samavardayat
Vrishasya nashtam strinpadan
Vishasya nastam stritpadan
tapasocham dayamiti
Tapasacham dayamiti
tisandadha ashvasya
Pratisandhadya Ashvasya
mahim cha samavardhayat.
Mahim cha samavardayat
Vrishasya nashtam strinpadan
Vishaya nastam stritpadan
tapasocham dayamiti
Tapasacham dayamiti
pratisanda ashvasya
Pratisandhadya Ashvasya
mahim cha samavardayat.
Mahim cha samavardayat
Rishasya nashtam strinpadan
Vishasya nastam stritpadan
Tapashocham dayamiti
Tapasacham dayamiti
Pratisandadha ashvasya
Pratisandhadya Ashvasya
Mahim cha samavardhaya
Mahim cha samavardayat
Rishasya nashtam strinpadan
Rishasya nastam stritpadan
tapashocham dayamiti
Tapasacham dayamiti
pratisandadha ashvasya
Pratisandhadya Ashvasya
mahim cha samavardayat
Mahim cha samavardayat
Vrishasya nashtam strinpadam
Rishasya nastam stritpadan
tapashocham dayamiti
Tapasacham dayamiti
pratisandhadha ashvasya
Pratisandhadya Ashvasya
mahim cha samavardhayat.
Mahim cha samavardayat So is that it? Everybody chanting? Oh, okay, great. Anybody online who wants to chant? Okay. So then we'll do word by word synonyms. Vishaya of the bull, the personality of religion. Nastan, lust. Trin, 3. Padan, legs. Tapa, austerity. Socham, cleanliness. Dayam, mercy. Iti, thus. Pratisantati, reestablished. Asvasya, by encouraging activities. Mahim, the earth. Cha, and. Samavatayat, perfectly improved. Translation. Thereafter, the king reestablished the lost legs of the personality of religion, the bull, and by encouraging activities, he sufficiently improved the condition of the earth. Purport. By designating particular places for the personality Kali, Maharaj Prishkit practically cheated Kali. In the presence of Kali, Dharma in the shape of a bull, and the earth in the shape of a cow, he could actually estimate the general condition of his kingdom, and therefore he at once took proper steps to reestablish the legs of the bull, namely austerity, cleanliness, and mercy. And for the general benefit of the people of the world, he saw that the gold stock might be employed for stabilization. Gold is certainly a generator of falsity, intoxication, prostitution, enmity, and violence. But under the guidance of a proper king or public leader, or a brahmana or sannyasi, the same gold can be properly utilized to reestablish the lost legs of the bull, a personality of religion. Maharaj Prishkit, therefore, like his grandfather Arjun, collected all illicit gold kept for the propensities of Kali, and employed it in the Sankirtan Jaga as per instruction of the Srimad Bhagavatam. As we have suggested before, one's accumulated wealth may be divided into 3 parts for distribution, namely 50% for the service of the Lord, 25% for the family members, and 25% for personal necessities. Spending 50% for the service of the Lord or for the propagation of spiritual knowledge in society by way of the Sankirtan Jaga is the maximum display of human mercy. People of the world are generally in darkness regarding spiritual knowledge, especially in regard to the devotional service of the Lord, and therefore to propagate the systematic transcendental knowledge of devotional service is the greatest mercy that one can show in this world. When everyone is taught to sacrifice 50% of his accumulated gold for the Lord's service, certainly austerity, cleanliness, and mercy automatically ensure. And thus the lost legs of the personality of religion are automatically established. When there is sufficient austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, naturally, Mother Earth is completely satisfied. And there's very little chance for Kali to infiltrate the structure of human society. So that's a nice translation of purport by Srila Prabhupada. So yeah, because I was thinking about that when we go out on Sankirtan, we're catching the karmi madly rushing from one place to another place for sense gratification. So we just ask them for a donation of some of their money, and we'll give them a book. Basically, the money is for the publication of the books, like that. Help covers the cost of the publication. So we can give them a book. Plus, Prabhupada also said that nobody really just wants something, you just give them for free. You know, at the airport, there's like a lot of our books in the trash can. When you're distributing the books, the big books too, books that pay like $5 for and stuff. So, but yeah, we wanted the people to read them, take them home, put them in their library. Somebody in their home will read them. You know, somehow or other, it gets to the right person that Krishna wants to speak to, like that. So that's a real important thing is our book distribution and getting them to donate their money to the good cause of the Krishna consciousness movement rather than spending it for the the lost legs of the bull, their sense gratification, intoxication, prostitution, gambling, and meat eating. So we've discussed a lot of things. Because Prabhupada was saying that monarchy is necessary in society. And, another place he says, well, nowadays monarchy is now abolished. So now we have the executive head of the administrative state, such as the president or prime minister, and you have the Congress like that. But, I guess what the king and queen in England, they're like pretty much like the figurehead, but they still had, they're still present. Everybody still likes Prince Charles and Queen Elizabeth. And, well, I guess now it's King Charles, right? So, and the king was he was a saintly person. So he was a Raja Rishi. He was qualified to be the king. And Prabhupada was saying that, like in the King of England, like there's a law: the king can do no wrong. Whatever the king does, he can't be counteracted or sued, or if he's acting illegally or impiously, they can't bring charges against the king. But the king, he's above the law, but he's God's representative. So in order to be God's representative, he has to be a saintly king. So that's what Prabhupada was saying, is that king actually means God's representative. God's representative, just like the demigods, they have their administrative affairs of supplying the heat and the light and the air and the rain and water and the earth. So the king also, he administrates the government in a God-conscious way. So that this way he could counteract the effects of the age of Kali, and very easily, like that. So this is really nice. So we're hearing about the sages at Namasaranya, Sutta Goswami speaking to Sanaka Rishi, what he heard from Sukadeva Goswami, which was directly spoken to Maharaj Prishkit. So we're hearing so many magnanimous activities of Maharaj Prishkit as being the king. And the sages at Namasaranya, they're just simply awestruck. We wonder how of a great magnanimous king Maharaj Prishkit was, and that he was qualified to sit and fast and hear Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days until the time of death. So we'll be getting that in the next chapter, is that Prabhupada was saying that Maharaj Prishkit could have counteracted the curse of the Brahmana boy, but he didn't. He just simply accepted it and sat down to hear Srimad Bhagavatam like that, and just let the events happen. There was the event where Maharaj Ambrish, he was fasting for Ekadasi. And so Durvasa Muni, he knew this. Durvasa Muni can give great blessings, and he can also give great curses. So he wanted to pick a quarrel with Ambrish Maharaj. So Durvasa Muni was on his way to Durvasa Muni's palace with his 60,000 disciples. Right? He was going to ask him for something to eat, ask him for some food to feed him and his 60,000 disciples. But what was it? He was fasting. So it was just the time of the Dwadasi where he was supposed to break his Ekadasi fast. So that was something that came as a surprise to me, is that you're supposed to break the Ekadasi fast in a Dwadasi, right? In a certain period of time, right? And I always thought we were just fasting from grains, right? The program, everything was already set up for me. We just had prasadam at a certain time, and then we went out on Sankirtan, right? So, but actually, the point of the fact of the matter is that you have to break the Ekadasi. So he was asking his administrators what to do. So he was saying, well, drinking a little water is like breaking fast and not breaking fast. Jai Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. So he was thinking about that. Okay, so when he went to the Ganges to take his bath and take his ablutions, he took a little water. And so Maharaj Ambrish, he detected this, right? It's like breaking fast and not breaking fast. So he goes, so now you're breaking your fast and you have eaten before your guests? Oh, I curse you. So he made a really big giant demon. I believe he had like copper molten hair, and he had the skin, copper molten skin, or his reddish hair. His really big hair, big scary demon, big monster demon. Some big 30-foot giant coming after you or whatever. So, how did Maharaj Ambrish? Well, because Maharaj Ambrish was a devotee and he was surrendered to Lord Vishnu, then everything was all taken care of. This is a great offense against the great devotee of the Lord and Krishna, and Lord Vishnu took a very personal interest in Durvasa Muni's activities. So I believe the demon was killed by Vishnu, the Sudarshan Chakra, and then was after Durvasa Muni, and Durvasa Muni at the speed of mind traveled through the universe, tried to stay just one step ahead of Sudarshan Chakra, and he went to Narayan Loka and he says, surrender, and said, oh, please Narayan, please save me from the Sudarshan Chakra. And Narayan was saying, well, I'm bound by my devotees' devotional service and the devotional love, and there isn't really anything I could really do about this, but you'll have to surrender to the devotee and get his mercy. So again, he's at the speed of mind. He even coming back from Narayana Loka back to the earthly planet, to the lotus feet of Maharaj Ambrish, and surrender like that to a great devotee. So a great devotee can even be more powerful than the Lord in some circumstances or instances, although he's not. He's only just the surrendered soul. But the Lord puts him in that position, makes him even greater than himself. Prabhupada was saying that one time. It was Saswat Das Goswami was saying that Prabhupada was saying that someday I will show you the power of a devotee. Like that. So the actual power of devotees, you're saying, is not some magic like some yogis do or manufacture some gold, but it can spread Krishna consciousness all throughout the world. There's verses in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's the Krishna Shakti, like that, Pravartanat or something, a verse like that, that he's specifically empowered and favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be able to spread God consciousness all over the world. An ordinary person, he can't do this. He can't achieve this type of a feat. Because what can an ordinary person actually really be able to do if he's not expert in the science of Krishna or Krishna consciousness, or even for that matter, is favored by the Supreme Lord. So that's the actual power of the magic of the devotee, like that. So that's very, very magnanimous. And let's see what else. Well, Prabhupada was speaking about a lot of things. I was hearing a lot of verses. So there was, well, that's the purpose of the Lord, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna descends to reestablish religious principles and annihilate the miscreants. So here, in this case, these religious principles are being reestablished. Right, and so a good way to do that is what Prabhupada was explaining here, is that he was utilizing the gold in a proper way instead of an improper way. And so I guess there's some things I was thinking of talking about, saying I can't think of them right now. But oh yeah, so like in the case of Maharaj Prithu, how the earth became gorgeously enriched with the proper gems and jewels from the hills. This is all described there. And the pearls and gems from the oceans, and the gold and the gold mines, and the silver mines, the precious metals. So the Earth's Bhumi was withdrawing the resources because of the reign of Vena Maharaj, and he was a great demon. He was a rogue. The last straw that broke the camel's back to the Brahmins killed him with high-pitched sounds by Vedic mantra, was that he actually proclaimed himself to be God, but he stopped the sacrificial fire. He made sure there wasn't any ghee so that they can perform the fire. And he had the thieves and rogues were on one side, and he was a rogue government harassing the citizens on the other side. So the citizens were between a rock and a hard place, like that. So the earth was withdrawing the resources. So now that Maharaj Prishket, he was the partial incarnation of the personality of Godhead, he challenged Bhumi, and so Bhumi agreed that actually this was right. So the earth flourished again with the resources. So Prabhupada was always comparing this to what's taking day, and like the petrol is running out, the gas prices are rising. There's energy crisis. There's not enough electricity, so there's an energy crisis that they're asking us to conserve. They're taking down the big, bright, flashing lights, and so this is what takes place in the Kali Yuga. The resources will become more and more restricted. There's sense gratification will be running out, so they become frantic and frustrated. What to do now? There's sense gratification running out. Well, there's just not enough for everyone. So so I'm still trying to think about what I was saying about that. So that's pretty much what takes place in the Kali Yuga. There was a verse that was in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It was Prahlad Maharaj speaking with Nrsingadev, and Prabhupada said this is a very, very instructive verse. Is that the characteristics of the karmis, he was like his demon father, is that they're in illusion and enamored by sense gratification as the ultimate goal of life, even up to the time of death, due to intoxication of being identifying the self as the body, and they do not know that they're actually a spiritual entity and that they're not the material body, and that all of their remedial measures are all simply temporary. So Prabhupada was talking about it. It's all problems, problems, problems. So it's a very instructive verse, right? That they'll try to protect the body by all means, for sense gratification, due to illusion of the self or forgetfulness of the actual real self. So Prabhupada, he was saying they were saying this a lot of times, like the actual real self-interest of the soul, or the actual real soul's gratification, not sense gratification, but soul's gratification to make the soul happy. He said you need to have spiritual food or soul food. So I said that to make the soul really happy, the soul gratification is this Krishna consciousness movement. So we have the proper diet, we have the proper medicine, like that. So there's the do's and the do nots, but this is all good for the restriction of the suffering patient. If the suffering patient, he can't have certain eatables, things like that. So he's restricted, and even though what was it? It was like if it tastes bitter, like the jaundice, the sugar candy. Has anybody actually seen the sugar candy, rock candy? You actually seen it and you have some? Yeah, it used to be really common. I don't see it around anymore. I guess it would kind of break my teeth, but it was really cool. It's really nice and sweet. It's a big rock candy, big candy. It's made in a rock, kind of looks like a diamond or a jewel or something, the way they're kind of shaped. They're really, really hard to break. They come on a string. It was like all these big rocks were all on a string. So that's the rock candy, but that's the remedy for jaundice, is that you have to eat rock candy, but it changes the taste buds really, really bad. It makes it taste really, really bitter, but you have to eat it because that's the cure for jaundice. So they're saying, like in the beginning, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra may be distasteful or unpalatable, but as one continues to go on and chant, he develops a taste for hearing, like that. So he becomes satisfied, and like that. Prabhupada was talking about. I was listening to the different stages of. First, there's association. So we invite the people to come to chant with us and hear Bhagavad Gita, right? And so if they develop a taste for hearing, then they want to. What's the association? I'll make friends with the devotees. So then they want to make friends with the devotees, become a devotee. And then there's sadhu sangha. So that's sadhu sangha, right? And then there's the acceptance of the spiritual master. Prabhupada was saying, then after some time they live with us and follow the process and chanting Hare Krishna and becoming satisfied. Then they're interested and serious enough. They want to take an initiation. So they write their letter and say, Prabhupada, please initiate me in devotional service. So then he said, so that's, what stage is that? There's Ruchi, associate. Oh, Bhajana Kriya, that's it. Yeah, the Bhajana Kriya, the very important step. Yeah, that's the Bhajana Kriya. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so these are the stages of devotional service. And the whole process is that in the human form, like Prabhupada was saying, that God gave us this accumulated intelligence for a specific purpose, that our intelligence is a superior intelligence in the whole universe. And that's to be able to understand God. And how to understand God is like there's esoteric and exoteric concepts. That he doesn't possess material form, but he possesses a spiritual form, of specific spiritual senses that can perform the functions of all those senses. That he manifests the entire Mahat Tattva, and through his different incarnations, plenary incarnations, expansions, and agencies of the demigods, the universes are created and maintained. So, like the scientists are trying to say that this is the only planet that can support life. Well, it's the only planet that can support life as far as we can see at the moment from our specific material bodies. But there are other planets that are supporting life, but they're supporting life in a different way that we don't know. Jai Shri Gaura Nitai Ki Jai. He said, what can you know by your imperfect senses? Your senses are imperfect, and whatever you create is going to be imperfect. No matter how magnified it can be, so far reach out into space, or tiny into the atom. He said, what can you know? He's saying the spiritual soul is the size of the dimension of 1/10,000th the part of the upper part of the hair tip. So he was saying that you can't even really cut the tip of the hair into 1,000 pieces and be able to, we don't have that sophisticated equipment yet. In fact, I don't think you actually really can do it. But that's the size of the soul. If you can, the size and dimension of the soul is 1/10,000th tip of the upper part of the hair. So there's another the question of mine that they're saying they have this new telescope. It's named after the scientist, the guy that developed it or something. What's it? Weber. Yeah, that's it. Weber. James Weber telescope, right? And so it has some sophisticated sensory equipment on it. It's a different type of a telescope. The specific lenses on it or whatever are really more like panels, right? And so they're trying to say that they're able to see out in the space farther than they have ever been able to see before. And even from what they have been able to see, they're being able to collect new data on it. They're looking at this data from a few different perspectives. Measuring different types of gases or looking at it under different types of light and things like that. So, other kinds of filters. So what they're actually saying is that they're looking at universes that haven't existed for millions of years already, and they're looking at the beginning of the universe, that when it was first being created, and that it's so far away that we're now picking up the light that it emanated when it did exist. Right? But I find a real big problem with that. I mean, I can understand the universe can be a really, really big place, but the speed of light travels at 93 million miles per second. How can something that's so far away, I mean, I could say it's so really far away, but the light that once existed couldn't still be out there if it hasn't even existed for millions of years already anymore. It's already dead and died. And they're saying they're looking at the beginning of the universe. So they have their theories. You know, I can understand that they're probably looking at something really, really far away, but they're looking at it from a different perspective. Or Prabhupada was saying, like, you know, imagine Einstein's equations. If somewhere in these big giant equations, one of those numbers were wrong, right? He said, Prabhupada was saying, 3 plus 2 equals 5, and 2 plus 2 equals 4. So this is the rule anywhere at any university, anywhere in the world, is that 2 plus 2 is 4 everywhere. You'll need 2 plus 3 to make 5, but not that at one university, 2 plus 2 is 4, and somewhere at another university, 2 plus 2 is 5. You know, I said that's incorrect. So basically, that's the basic, what Srimad Bhagavatam was saying is the basic mistake or the basic miscalculation. It's identifying the self with the body. And so that's the basic principle. That's all wrong there. So everything that they do and all their remedial measures is all for the sense gratification of themselves and their countrymen, you know, and like that. And the whole world is in enmity for their property and for their sense gratification because the resources are running out. So that's pretty much sums it up. So we can hope to have God conscious government. Maharaj, want to speak? Did you hear that? Or maybe it was just somebody's microphone. Did Maharaj want to speak or anything? Or
Hare Krishna.
yeah, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. On the topic of different types of currencies, it was discussed again in the purport that the main goal of today's society is that they want to amass huge sums of money for their own pleasure, their own enjoyment. And then it becomes a community thing and a national thing. But actually, because it's not the purpose of life, that amassing huge sums of money is being misused. And so they have made it easier and easier for someone, like a business, to have billions and billions of dollars amassed. But actually, that's not the purpose of life. It shouldn't be done. And the way it can be purified is if someone does have excess gold or funds, then he should use 50% of that for the service of the Lord, for pleasing Krishna. Then it will become purified. In other words, if someone really wants to make lots of money, then he can purify that desire by using 50% of the accumulated amount for service to Krishna. Otherwise, it'd be better to go back to the bartering system where I carry 1 bushel of wheat to you and you give me a few gallons of milk and we trade. They say it's too cumbersome to have that kind of a currency where you're bartering because you can't. What if you have to have millions of dollars? We don't need millions of dollars for those kinds of transactions. In a God-conscious society, it's not required. Everyone is living simply and making their arrangements for going back to Godhead, not for staying here and trying to build heaven on earth Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's not the way to build a heaven on earth. They're actually building a hell on earth. But yeah, Prabhupada was saying that the goal of life is not to amass a huge bank balance. You can't take it with you when you leave your body, when your life is expired by karma, predestined activities. Prabhupada was saying it's something like who was it? Alexander the Great said this. He was buried with his palms open. Prabhupada said it's just like that. You're born naked, and when you die, you don't take anything with you like you're naked, like that. So he was buried with the palm open, signifying that he came in this world with nothing and leave with nothing. In fact, the money that's accumulated by illegal activities or unfair and cheating propensities, or sinful activities. This is just simply your, what do you call it? Your fare, your ticket money. It's your purchased money to hell, like that. It's your, what? Yeah, a toll. There's another name for it, but wagers or something like that. But yeah, simply only just the money that they paid, just simply, for their fare. This is their fare that they paid to specifically to go to hell, right? So they didn't know it. So this is all self-defeating. But yeah, Prabhupada was saying that first, instead of having gold and gold currency and the process that Maharaj was speaking about with bartering, in a God-conscious society, all the people can trade for fruits and vegetables and grains. And then they had the pestles that was explained in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. They're grinding their grains and keeping their stock. There was like a safe, kind of like a hole inside their house underneath the ground where they can keep it safely. But the first sign of a rogue society that we had studied earlier was that they disrespect Brahminical culture and they slaughter the cow. But not only that, but they issue this paper money. So what is this paper money? It's just useless. Prabhupada, there was a slogan, "In God we trust." But he said, but if they don't honor God, then how is it you can trust? It says this is all just slogan. And it's just, it's bogus, this paper money. It's that everyone's cheated. Hundreds and tens of thousands of dollars cheated like that. So nobody knows what's actually really gold, like that. Is there any questions or points of conversation? You have a question? You have a question too?
I was just wondering, so it's kind of like a doubt. If Maharaj Parikshit was like he was like the last line of defense for a good civilization during the age of Kali, why didn't he do anything to counteract the curse?
He just accepted that and it's the Lord's will, because Sukadeva Goswami had just left home at the age of 16. He was within his mother's womb because he didn't want to become influenced by Maya or illusion again. And his father is Srila Vyasadeva. So Srila Vyasadeva had just compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. So Sukadeva Goswami had just heard Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, Srila Vyasadeva. So this was some of the history that was set up in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's actually the Lord's plan that Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken to Maharaj Parikshit. He just accepted it just as a humble, menial servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that he was just accepting that this is providence, that this is just, his karma, like that. So, but he could if he wanted to, but he didn't decide to do that. But Krishna is in charge of everyone. From Krishna comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness, like that. And so everyone's under the control, following the course. It's actually dictated from Krishna within the heart. So Maharaj Priska, he took the specific position, humble position, although he was a king. They could have counteracted it, but he didn't. Yeah, you had a
That was a
question?
nice reply. Just one little thing to add to it is that when Krishna needs a devotee for another service, then he makes some arrangement so that devotee can be freed from the service he's performing now. And Krishna is always traveling to different universes with his traveling entourage and pastimes, and so devotees are selected to him. So Parikshit Maharaj was needed for some other service, so his time was arranged like that by the Lord. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yes. You had a question too?
This is more not like a question, but more like when you were speaking about Prithu Maharaj and how the Mother Earth was hiding all these
The resources?
yes, resources. So Prabhupada mentioned there very nice, wonderful analogy like when the mother, like because she was in the shape of cow, and so when a cow is feeling attracted to the small calf, so she willing to give him the milk, and in the same way, when Mother Earth is attracted to inhabitants which are Krishna conscious, so she is giving all these resources. And so, and therefore, we can see now in this like age that the resources are going down because people are really sinful. And Maharaj Prithu, yes, he just reestablished, everything because of his power. He was Shakti Avatar.
Yeah, that's a nice analogy. Just like a cow who gives abundant milk to the calves when they're happy and satisfied with their calves, when society is flourishing in God consciousness, then then the resources will be abundant. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah, 'cause, when you're speaking about that, speaking of analogies, then a lot of times I think of this analogy is that Kamsa was going to kill Devaki, hearing the voice from the sky, prophesizing that their eighth son will kill the King Kamsa. So Vasudev, he made one analogy. He said that just as on a full moon, cloudy, windy night, the moon appears to be moving as the clouds are passing through the sky very rapidly. So, but the moon itself is stationary, does nothing. So the analogy of that is the soul or the self is stationary and fixed, and it actually does nothing. It's not in movement, but it's the waves of the actions of and interactions of the three modes of material nature which are in movement. So therefore it appears that the body is moving like that. So are there any other questions or comments or points of discussion? All right, so we can end class there. Srimad Bhagavatam class ki jai.